Hey guys, Julian here. Today I'm gonna be showing you how to make future bass in the style of like Holo or like Holo, I guess, I don't know, or Illenium, like that kind of like bigger, more anthemic future bass style. So to start off with, I have this thing that you heard in the description, in the intro, and I want to let you guys know this project file is available in the description. You can get it for just $5, and you get all the samples, all the project file, of course, all the MIDI files, the presets, and everything, so you can really tear this apart and use it to make your own productions better, and maybe even use some of these presets in your own songs. So anyway, yeah, I'll show you the synths first. So the first thing I have is this lead. Sounds like this. And it's 2 layers. It's this layer, and then this layer. So 2 somewhat similar layers, but they're doing 2 different things. The second layer is more of like a whistly kind of sound, and it's giving like that kind of sound over top of this first lead, which is much more of like a dirty kind of saw wave sound. As far as the melody goes, it's really not too crazy. I just like to make these simple kind of things, and then it's all about repetition, really. Like, it's about making this melody that will keep, that you can sing along to easily and can easily like grab onto, and hopefully people will sing along to it. So, I mean, this is very simple, as you can see. I just have this little, and then at the end it changes. So, again, really nothing too crazy. You just kind of have to get in and start doing it. As far as the synth sound goes, so this first layer, it's a square wave in analog, and I'll show you what it sounds like without any of these effects. But all it is it's a square wave in analog with a bandpass filter on it to filter it and make it kind of more vocal, which you'll see more when I put on the distortion, how that happens. And then I just set the amplitude like that, just so it's just like one long note, basically. I added some vibrato just to give it a little bit more flavor, and then I put on the glide and I set the voices to mono, so these little sliding notes can slide into each other. As far as processing goes, I have an overdrive, so that starts bringing out the kind of vocal characteristic of the bandpass filter. I have a bit warmer, which again takes it even farther, gives it more harmonic content. I have another bit warmer, which really gets it to that kind of like thick, distorted bandpass lead sound I was going for. And then I have an erosion. So that's what gives it like that kind of Holo-y kind of vibe. An erosion is just like a bit crusher. Pretty simple. You can do this in your own tracks very easily. I have, after that, a reverb to give it some space. And then I have this next thing I want to talk about, which is an auto pan. And what I did with the auto pan is I created this pulsing effect, which is very, very popular in future bass right now. And the way that you do it is you get an auto pan. I'll do it from scratch. And what you have to do is turn the phase down to 0. You can also do 360, but I just usually do 0. And what this does is it sets it so it's only affecting the volume of the mono signal. The way an auto pan works, if you don't know, is when you have this phase up, essentially what it's doing is it's just turning down the volumes of the left and right ear, like, at different times, so you get the panning effect. So if you set the phase to 0, all you do is it just affects the volume. So it's a pretty useful effect that you can do. And what I usually do is I'll turn the amount all the way up, you sync the BPM, and then I'll do I'll sync it to the BPM, and then do quarter notes, so 1/4. And then what you gotta do is select this saw waveform, and then hit invert. And there you go, you have it, the pulsing effect. Now you can even shape this a little bit with the shape knob, if you want to make it more like curved. I usually just keep it all the way down. But this is a very popular effect, and you can do this with plugins like LFO Tool and Kickstart and all of those. But it's cool to be able to just do it with like Ableton stuff. So that was why I wanted to use this auto pan. And the next thing I have is it's just sidechain to the kick. Now, the second lead is really the same in processing. The only difference is it doesn't have that overdrive, but what it does have in the synth that makes it different is it's a sine wave and then a little bit of white noise. And then I have the amplitude set same way as this one was, just one long note. And it's got a little bit of vibrato, same as that one, and then a little bit of glide with the voices set to mono. I have these saturators, again, same thing as the lead up there. I just wanted to bring out a little bit more harmonics. And then a reverb, the auto pan with the pulsing effect, and then I have it sidechained to the kick. And yeah, this layer is pretty nice. I like having it in there. It's a little bit interesting synthesis-wise as well, because I was trying to create like a whistle kind of sound. Excuse me, I'm a little bit sick. I was trying to create like a whistle kind of sound, and so what I did was I got the sine wave, but if you listen to just a sine wave on its own, it's not really quite the same as whistling, because when you whistle, you also get that over top of it. So I added the white noise to create that, and it sounds a lot more realistic now. And this just sits over the first lead, just to give it a little bit more kind of, I guess, brightness, high end. I think it just sounds good overall in the mix. Next thing I want to talk about is the chords, which sound like this on their own. And they're pretty simple. They're just these chords where I've taken the thirds. If you don't know what the third is, it's basically when you have a chord, like a basic major or minor triad, you would have your root note, your third, which is either a major third or a minor third, based on if the chord is a major chord or a minor chord, and then your fifth. So what I do is I will usually split these and put the thirds up an octave, so that you get more space in between the notes. It gives you more clarity in your chords. It also makes them a lot bigger because it's spread across 2 octaves instead of 1. And in my opinion, it just really sounds better. So that's really it for the chords. I mean, all I can say about like the kind of chords you should use is I would check out what your favorite producers are doing and see like their techniques. And see like what kind of chord progressions they're using and like how they're coming up with them and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, also like just going for these big kind of like cinematic anthemic. I wouldn't say this is a cinematic chord progression, but this style where it is like going towards that, definitely will get you on the right track. Just try to look for those kind of chords. And yeah, as far as the synth patch goes, it's very simple. It's just a saw wave with, I think there's a little bit of white noise on there, and I have some filtering. So yeah, it's a saw wave. Put a little bit of white noise on, just to give it some more high end sort of crispiness and fill out the mix a little bit more. I have a high pass filter on here with no envelope, and I was just trying to cut out the low end and just make this kind of more like metallic sounding and thin. When I listen to a lot of like Holo stuff and Illenium as well, they do this a lot where like they'll have their chord layer be very like high pass and very thin sounding, and sometimes even with like a band pass filter or a notch filter I hear. And yeah, it just sort of isn't made to be like super huge. It just sort of sits over everything and gives you the chords. And yeah, it makes room for the bass and the lead. The amplitude envelope is just set like this, just so it's like one long note. I have a little bit of vibrato on there, and then I put on the Haas effect. So what the Haas effect is, if you don't know, is essentially you take a sound, you split it into the left signal and the right signal, and you delay one of them. In this case, I did the right signal, or the left, I believe, yeah, the left. And you split them up, and you delay one of them a little bit, so it's happening slightly after the other ear. And by doing that, you get this this very like wide stereo image, because they're literally happening so close to each other and playing the same thing. But yeah, it just creates that big stereo image. And the way you do this is, I'll remake it. So I usually will grab an audio effect rack, and what you do is you make 2 chains. So create chain, right click, create chain, and then I'm going to pan 1 to the left, 1 to the right. What I do after that is grab a simple delay. It doesn't matter which one you put it on, but put it on one of them. Set the dry wet, all the way up, so completely wet. Keep it at 0 feedback. You're going to link these because you just want a mono delay, since this is only on one side of the stereo field. Then we're going to unsync it. And basically, you set this anywhere between like 10 milliseconds to, I'd say, like 40 or 50 milliseconds, and you're going to get the effect. And the more that you turn it up, the more you'll get it. But if you get it past a certain point, I mean, it's kind of just a delay at that point. So you can see on this one I had 10.3 milliseconds. And yeah, it just really helps the stereo image. After that, I have an auto pan doing the same like pulsing effect I was talking about on the leads, just so everything is very uniform. I have an EQ8 cutting out all the lows. I just like to make sure, because I know I have the high pass filter in here, but I just wanted to make sure that it was all getting cut out. And then I have it side chained to the kick. So pretty simple there. Next thing I'll show you is the bass. So the bass sounds like this. It's a sub, and then this mid bass. Pretty simple. The notes are just the same chords, or the notes from the chord progression. I just grabbed the chords and put them on there, and then just cut out all the top notes, so it's just the root notes. The sub layer is pretty simple. What it is it's a sine wave and operator with a little bit of another sine wave doing some FM on it. I've got a bit warmer on there, just to beef it up a little bit and glue it together with all the other layers. And then the same auto pan and side chain combo that's on every other synth in here. Nothing too crazy there. And then the mid bass is a very similar thing. I'm pretty sure I just copied down the sub bass and changed like one thing. It's the same thing, it's just a sine wave, but instead this time I have the FM being done by a saw wave. So you get that kind of thick saw wave sound. But it's a little bit better than just using a saw wave on its own, I think. I like the kind of like boxy feel that this, or kind of like boxy texture that this has. Next thing I have on here is, yeah, just a bit warmer, and then the auto pan and side chain. Again, very simple there. I just wanted these basses to really fill out the mix, because without them, it's really empty. So the sub, you know, it's pretty good, but the mid bass really helps tie it all together with the chords. So the next thing is the drums. The drums are pretty simple. They just sound like this on their own. Just like a pretty simple trap pattern. And all these samples, just like all the MIDI files and presets in this project file, are available in the description for just $5, so you can get those there. I'll show you. Okay, so the hi-hats are really simple. They're just these. I just took like did like a simple trap hi-hat pattern with some rolls. And then I have this offbeat one to help keep the beat. It really helps to sit over top of the whole mix. And then what I did was I added a little bit of track delay on the main hi-hat just to keep the groove a little bit better and more human. Because without it, it was just a little bit too sort of like rigid, so I wanted to take that off. So to use a track delay, all you do is just press that little D icon, and then these come up, and you can switch it from milliseconds to samples. And if you don't know what the track delay is, all it is it basically just moves all the contents of your track forward. So it's the same as if I just went like this and then just did that, or if I move the MIDI notes back. But I like doing it with track delay instead of manually like that, because it's a little bit easier to work with, and it's a little bit more editable if you can just keep turning this knob. Yeah, as far as the snare goes, I mean, not really too much to say about that. It's just this kind of like punchy trap-ish snare. And then I added a bit of reverb on it, because it was just a little bit too dry. And then the kick, same thing, really simple. It's just like this kind of punchy kick. It's more about sample selection and like your ability to do that than it is anything else. And just knowing like what is a good sample and what is going to sound bad and what is going to sound good and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it for today, guys. Not too much to say about this. It's very straightforward once you just sort of do it. It's just about getting, like, layering up your leads, making sure your chords and your bass are right, and then getting some nice sounding drums, and you can really be there. It's not too hard. So like I said, you can get this project file for just $5, and all the samples and MIDI and presets in the description. You can also get all my other sample packs there, which are around the same price range. Let me know if you like this video. Make sure to hit the comments. Like this video as well. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Share this video if it really helped you out. And I will see you guys again tomorrow for another tutorial, guys.